For the last few years, it has felt like the automotive world was taking everything we loved about cars and replacing it with software. Manual transmissions were disappearing, naturally aspirated engines were becoming extinct. Everything was getting heavier, quieter, and more complicated. And apparently, the future of performance cars was supposed to be a giant touchscreen with 1.2 thousand horsepower and basically zero soul. But then, something very strange happened. Within a ridiculously short amount of time, the three manufacturers basically looked at the auto industry and said, you know what? Maybe enthusiasts aren't completely insane after all. Because Koenigsegg just unveiled a 1.6 thousand horsepower V8 monster with a clutch pedal. McLaren just brought back the manual gearbox for the first time since the legendary F1. And Hennessey? Well, Hennessey decided to build an actual hypercar with a naturally aspirated V8, a gated manual, and with no screens. I genuinely don't know what happened in those boardrooms this week, but I'm definitely not complaining. So today, we are looking at 3 brand new cars that might just prove that there is still hope for car enthusiasts. And maybe, just maybe, the future isn't as depressing as we thought it will be. So grab a coffee and let's take our time with this one. Okay, so let's start with the car that basically feels like the biggest middle finger to the modern hypercar formula. The Hennessey Blackbird. The name already tells you everything. It's inspired by the SR-71 Blackbird, the legendary Mach 3 Plus stealth aircraft that looks like someone gave an engineer a blank sheet of paper and said, make something that should not be able to fly. And Hennessey took the exact same energy and applied it to a hypercar. Under the skin sits the brand new 6.2 liter naturally aspirated V8 developed with Ilmor engineering. The target power is between 800 and 850 horsepower and it redlines past 9,000 RPM. There are no turbos, no hybrid system, just pure high-revving American V8 character. And then you look at the gearbox, a 6-speed gated manual. Yes, a hypercar with a naturally aspirated V8 and a real manual. This is the kind of specification that feels like it came from someone's dream garage in 2004. Not something being announced in 2026. It is of course rear-wheel drive and it's built around the carbon fiber top and carbon bodywork because Hennessey is targeting a dry weight under roughly 1,360 kilograms. They claim that their 0 to 100 time will be less than 2.5 seconds and the top speed around 354 kilometers an hour. But you know, the numbers aren't even the best part, it's the interior. Hennessey looked at modern hypercar cabins and decided the future needs less technology. There are basically no screens. You get a big central tachometer, a physical ignition key, an exposed shift linkage, actual buttons, and if you desperately need navigation, your phone goes into what they call a holster. It's almost hilariously simple, and I absolutely love it. And then there's the exterior. It is pure aerospace theater. Vertical fins, stealth jet proportions, even the exhaust tips are inspired by the Bell X-1. I'm not completely sold on the rear spoiler design yet, it looks a bit strange to me, but the rest of the car is absolutely beautiful. If you squint your eyes, you can still see a bit of Venom GT DNA in it. Okay, and here comes the sad part. Only 71 will be built and the production is planned for 2029 or 2030. Sadly for most of us car enthusiasts, the starting price is around $2.5 million or around 2.2 million euros before options, which means we probably won't really get one. So at the end of the day, this car isn't trying to win a horsepower war, it's just trying to make you feel something, and that is exactly why it is so exciting. Okay, this one genuinely surprised me, because when you hear new McLaren, you usually picture something extremely low, covered in air intakes, looking like it was designed by a computer that has never seen a straight line, and honestly kind of looking like the McLaren that was built just before. Then, McLaren showed us the MCL CCGT, and it doesn't really look like a modern McLaren, which I actually love and kind of feel weird about it at the same time. It's smoother, more elegant. The body almost feels like a modern interpretation of an old school GT. Cleaner proportions and less aggressive aero. Some people I know already say it doesn't look like a McLaren, and honestly, I said the same thing. But it might not be a problem. Maybe that's the whole point. It's just different. The inspiration for this one is Bruce McLaren's original M6 GT from the late 1960s, the road car project he never got to build before his death. And now more than 50 years later, McLaren is finally finishing the story. And while doing it, they did something I really didn't expect. They gave it a manual gearbox, 6 speeds, 3 pedals, a real mechanical connection. It's an authentic manual, exposed titanium linkage, and proper feel. It is the real deal and not a simulated pedal-only system. This will be McLaren's first proper 3-pedal road car since the F1 in 1992. Just think about it for a second. The company that built one of the most legendary driver's car in history is finally putting another real manual into production. Power figures and the exact engine details still aren't public yet. We know that the prototype is running a naturally aspirated V8, but McLaren hasn't confirmed final horsepower and and displacement, or at least I couldn't find anything about them. And the interior, a lot of carbon fiber, premium quality everywhere, and it just looks amazing. Of course it has an exposed shifter, it looks absolutely amazing, the whole interior. It just also feels a bit more mechanical than what we usually get these days. So all in all, this car is beautiful inside and out. So when can you buy it? What we know, production starts in 2028 with around 500 examples. Now this one is a bit cheaper than the Hennessey Blackbird, but sadly still more expensive than an E46 330 Ci. The expected price will be around $1.5 million, or roughly around 1.2 million euros. But at the end of the day, the most important thing isn't the horsepower or top speed, or not even the price. It is the 3 pedals and the natural aspirated V8. After decades of being told that automatics are simply faster, McLaren has decided that maybe faster isn't always the point. And that is something I really needed to hear. Alright, now there are poster cars for the absolute madman, and then there is the Koenigsegg CCGT1. This isn't just a new Koenigsegg, it's a resurrection. Back in 2007, Koenigsegg built the original CCGT, a GT1 race car with a naturally aspirated 5-liter V8 weighing around 1000 kilograms, designed for around 600 horsepower in a fully race-inspired body. And then, all of a sudden, the FIA changed the regulations overnight, so the project was killed and the car never competed. So only one was ever built, which made it into one of those classic what-if stories. But now, almost 20 years later, Christian von Koenigsegg decided to finish that story. The new CCGT1 is the road legal tribute, based on the CC850 platform, but they basically threw away almost every body panel except the doors and the removable roof. The aero package is serious, up to 800 kilograms of downforce at 250 kilometers an hour, active rear wing that moves through 30 degrees, and a big splitter. It is just the full package. The power comes from the familiar twin-turbo V8, 1280 horsepower on pump fuel, and the proper 1,600 horsepower on E85. But the transmission is where I started smiling. The standard setup is a new Koenigsegg sequential shift. You have a real clutch pedal for the takeoff, then it behaves like a sequential race gearbox with clutchless shifts and ignition cuts. Just pure race car vibes. But if that is still not analog enough for you, you can order the gated 6-speed manual instead, which is called the Engage shift system. So let me get this straight. Koenigsegg built a 1,600 horsepower twin-turbo hypercar with massive active aero, and you can still get it with a gated manual? What is even happening in here? Now, what we really don't care about, because we won't ever buy this car, is that only 70 will be made. And of course, every single one was already allocated before the car was even publicly revealed. Yeah, classic Koenigsegg. I don't even have to say the price, because I think we all know that we won't be able to get this one. But at least we have one more poster to have in our home. By the way, it will be around $4 million, which is around 3.5 million euros. Yeah. You're welcome. And then Koenigsegg still thought that it's not enough, so they are offering you the option to get it with a track package with slicks, a carbon cage, racing seats, air jacks, just basically everything. Koenigsegg says that with that package, this will be the fastest lapping road car they have ever built. The original CCGT was built to race, and never got the chance. Now, its spiritual successor is a street-legal hypercar that can actually go racing. That is just pretty damn cool. So this is why I wanted to make this video. Because for years we have been told that we, car enthusiasts, just have to accept the future. More automation, more screens, more weight, more horsepower, but somehow less involvement. I'm not saying technology is bad. Some of the engineering in these cars are absolutely incredible. But something very important is happening here. These three manufacturers are remembering that numbers aren't everything. The Koenigsegg doesn't need 1,600 horsepower to be interesting. The fact that you can choose between a manual and an automatic transmission, now that is what I'm calling peak automotive technology. Not another giant screen or an adaptive seat massage. Then there's the McLaren. It doesn't need to be the fastest car in the lineup. The fact that it has 3 pedals again and a naturally aspirated V8, now that's interesting. And the Hennessey doesn't need a giant touchscreen. It has a screaming naturally aspirated V8, a gated manual, and the physical key. That's the stuff we remember. Maybe the future of cars doesn't have to mean forgetting the past. Maybe we can have incredible technology without losing the things that made us fall in love with cars in the first place. I think that these 3 cars are a sign that car enthusiasts still exist in the automotive industry. Although these are some very expensive signs, but honestly, I couldn't be happier about it. Alright, now, which one of these 3 beasts would you choose if money wouldn't be a problem? Drop it in the comment sections down below, because I'm very curious about your opinion on these cars. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like button and hit subscribe if you haven't already, and help me achieve my 1000 subscriber goal by the end of 2026. Every new subscriber helps me more than you would think. So thank you again, and now all you have to do is drive very safe, stay very positive, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye!